that break. Hey, thanks for riding with us this morning. I appreciate you joining with us. Hope you're catching us live on our website at americasvoicenow.org. If not, there's plenty of other places you can find us, and you can listen to our radio or by audio live on Patriot FB. You can also listen to it on constitutionclub.ning and Citizens Action Network. You see, the truth is that, this show will never be mainstream. It'll never get the kind of coverage that so many other radio programs out there get. And I know that, and you should too. The reason is because I'm saying what everyone's thinking, but nobody actually has the courage to admit. And I'm not, I'm not saying, and I don't mean to disregard what many others are saying out there. I mean, Michael Savage came out the other day and said that upon his return, Obama should be. He was away on a trip. He was saying that on his return, he should have been arrested for sedition. But there's one thing that I see left out over and over and over in the discussions that are going on around the nation by news talk and talk radio hosts. And that is the word treason. They won't use it. Just like Obama will not say it was an act of terrorism, these guys are afraid to use the word treason. I don't understand why. Rush Limbaugh doesn't say it. These guys talk, I'll tell you what. I posted an article from WorldNet Daily on a summary of what they talked about last week. Michael Savage talked about Donald Sterling and the thing with the NBA. With all due respect, you folks will never hear me address something like that. You know why? Because it's nothing more than a distraction. It's intended to be a divisive aspect and an element that does nothing more than create animosity, angst, and hatred and unhappiness. He said it. But the NBA knew a long time ago he was a racist. Everybody in the NBA who had any dealings with the guy knew he was a racist. So why make a big deal out of it? Kick him out. Make him sell his team or whatever. I don't care. I mean, I have a whole argument that we could have about whether or not your personal views can justify your property being taken from you. But if he signed some kind of an agreement and waived his rights with the NBA in order to get, literally billions of dollars worth of revenue from them, hey, that's on him. If you're stupid enough to sign away your rights to something, then that's on you. But you won't hear me talking about Donald Sterling and his girlfriend who's 1/3 his age. Who you know why? Because it's meant to be a distraction from what is really going on. It's the sleight of hand of a ministry of propaganda that is expert at fooling you into thinking something is of importance when it really isn't, and keeping your eye off the real ball that matters, the game-winning ball. Savage couldn't conceal his disgust about this, because it's diverting attention from Obama's many failures, and he went on another international apology tour. He said he just went to Malaysia, which is one of the worst human rights records in the world, and he put America down again. Obama should be arrested for sedition when he arrives back in America. Well, I don't think he should be arrested for sedition for downing America overseas. I mean, I think he should be arrested for treason, for violating the Constitution, for aiding and abetting enemies of the United States of America. Rush Limbaugh talked about, Donald Sterling, and he went on and talked about other things during the course of the week. Mark Levin, there's a summary here. There's no reason on this earth why we, the people of the United States, have no idea what this president did for 8 to 10 hours after the attack on our consulate. If the president of the United States refuses to comply and provide a response, then the activists at Judicial Watch should go to federal court and seek to compel his answers and let the chips fall where they may, take it all the way to the Supreme Court if they must. I like Mark Levin. I really do. I like him because, he's probably the most candid out of all of the national level talk hosts out there. But he has faith in the Supreme Court, and I don't. He has faith in a system that I believe is so far beyond and so corrupted at this point that it can do nothing for us except harm us. And I frankly believe that these people, Laura Ingraham is on here, and her segment was on, Clarence Thomas being called an Uncle Tom. I didn't talk about that either. Why? Because it's not really material to the issue. If you got one idiot who's a Democrat calling a Supreme Court justice an Uncle Tom, who's also a fellow black man, I mean, it's absurd. But, she criticized Kerry after Israel on the apartheid statement thing. Glenn Beck, he got a lot of attention this week claiming Hillary Clinton would have sex with a woman on the White House desk if it becomes popular. Beck's point, which got a little bit lost in the ensuing uproar, was that Clinton and many leading Democrats are against gay marriage until the issue reached a tipping point. Last week, during a commencement speech at Liberty University, the radio host said that God gave him a message that he was praying while he was praying at the Temple Mount. You tell them I'm coming, and I will settle scores. Sorry, Glenn. I don't believe, and when somebody tells me that they get a direct message from God, I got a real problem with that. You see, here's the problem, folks. Nobody's willing to call it what it is. Treason. Treason. Nobody's willing to say, where are all these guys with the capability to say Benghazi was about an arms deal, arming and aiding and abetting sworn and known enemies of the United States of America, and that makes it treason? Crickets. So John Boehner has an opportunity to solve the Benghazi dilemma. As a result of Judicial Watch, who is a not-for-profit, it's a law firm, and what they do is all patriot work. Kudos to them, because you've got literally thousands upon thousands upon thousands of professional journalists, and I use the term loosely, who couldn't do what Judicial Watch did. You've got a full Congress who couldn't do what the little train that could was able to pull off. I've heard different news organizations applauding Judicial Watch's performance. And there's an irony in that, in and of itself, in the sense that these are organizations with hundreds of millions of dollars, in the billions of dollars of assets, resources, thousands of journalists at their beck and call, vast contacts, enormous amounts of power, and they couldn't do what little Judicial Watch was able to pull off. By design or by incompetence. And in either event, it's an indictment against the Ministry of Propaganda. I rest my case, counselor. As a result of what was exposed by Cheryl Atkinson and Judicial Watch and other true investigative journalists, Boehner is really at this point no alternative but to appoint a select committee or a special committee which will investigate the attacks in Benghazi. Here's the problem. There's a couple of things that John has to make sure he does in order for us to be sure this isn't a whitewash committee. One, the committee needs to have unlimited subpoena power for anyone and any group. Nothing is sacred. No one is sacred. Everyone has to be capable of being subpoenaed and forced to testify, even as a hostile witness if necessary. Second, the committee has to be able to refer those found guilty of whatever, and I don't care whether it's obstruction or whether it's far greater than that, or anyone who refuses to testify or refuses a subpoena. They have to be able to refer them directly to the federal court for charges. And here's why. Normally, in a situation like this, the Select Committee makes the recommendation that the Attorney General bring charges. But with Eric Holder as the Attorney General, that won't do. So the way this has to work is Boehner can make only one focal point here that will change the nature of this, and that is to bypass Eric Holder. He can do it. The question is, will he do it? And that's anybody's guess. But I can tell you this. We're going to know a lot more about John Boehner when we see what this Select Committee is going to look like. One, nothing and no one is above reproach and review and subpoena. And two, the rules have to be very clear that at the end of the investigation, whoever has been found guilty of anything by the committee has to be able to refer that individual or that organization or that group straight to the court for charges, not through the Department of Justice. And third, it cannot and must not be done in secret. We cannot have redacted statements coming out. We can't have constant closed-door hearings where everything is done because it's a threat to the security of the United States and all that nonsense. That's all BS, ladies and gentlemen. All that is cover and a smokescreen. And if Boehner allows that to happen, we'll know a lot more about Boehner's real true intention and motives. He says in a statement that withholding the email convinced him it was time to appoint a full special committee to investigate. With all due respect, John, you should have had this task force formed 8-10 months ago. It's been going on for 20 months. You've been stonewalled. You've been ignored. The committees that have investigated this have been, look, they've been changing the names of the people who were witnesses on the ground and maneuvering them around the country to keep them out of the clutches of these committees. You don't need more proof than that to know that where there's smoke, there's fire. They changed the names of those who were injured and in hospitals around the country, and they refused and kept secret from Congress the names, the identities, and the locations of where these individuals were. What? John, you didn't need more proof than that to know that a special committee should have been formed back then. Now, Darrell Issa jumped in there into the fray and said he's going to issue a subpoena for John Kerry, which, Kerry has some explaining to do why he's participated in the stonewalling. Hillary Clinton needs to be on the list of subpoenaed individuals, and she needs to be subpoenaed and testify, and the questions need to be created as if she were a hostile witness, because she will be, or as if she will be one of the accused, because she is. I'm telling you, though, what you're going to see a lot of this done in secret. You're going to see a lot of closed-door hearings that you'll never be able to hear about. And that tells me that it's a whitewash. That's what it tells us. It's going to be a whitewash. Because if you can't have, you see, I don't really care about the idea that this guy from the CIA or this guy from another agency is going to be able to say, I can't talk about that. It can only be handled in secret. I understand and recognize that, nations have a need to have secrets. But I've got to tell you, the real secret here is that this is all about a gun running operation that is really got nothing to do with anything else that's going on right now. But where this is really headed is that they want to make sure that they keep it quiet, that this was, we didn't see this in the Iran-Contra scandal under Reagan, who was trading arms and accepting cocaine and drugs. That should have risen to an impeachment. This should be no different. Elijah Cummings, the guy who has been stalling the IRS investigation, only for us to later find out that he's actually involved in it. Hello, conflict of interest. Is now throwing out that Kerry shouldn't be, subpoenaed and blah, 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 blah. That guy needs to be removed from office. He needs to have dishonorably discharged tattooed across his forehead so that no one can make the mistake of recognizing who exactly he is. I'm afraid, though, folks, what we're going to see is we're going to see a whitewash of this that is going to be an orchestrated theatrical performance. And it's going to be an orchestrated theatrical performance because Congress has been so corrupted by the administration and the puppet masters in the background, not just, the obvious ones. But listen, the military organization and the military industrial group out there, complex out there, they don't want you to know that the United States of America is the world's largest arms dealer, and that we're plying foreign governments and small armies, rebel armies, with literally hundreds of billions of dollars worth of weaponry. There, I said it. We're the largest arms trafficker on the planet. You want to know why the rest of the world is pissed off at us? There's one of the reasons. And the Ministry of Propaganda does everything to keep that hidden from you. They cover for the administration. They hide the exposure of that from individuals who are, quite frankly, the victims of those arms deals. You see, and listen, there are regimes in the world that should be removed. I mean, nobody would argue these days with the fact that, Idi Amin as an example, or Hitler, or, Pol Pot, or any of those regimes shouldn't have been removed. Maybe even Saddam Hussein. But it's not necessary for us as a nation to go to war because of professional courtesy that politicians give each other, that they won't snuff each other as heads of state. Because that's the truth. See, there's an international agreement that says we won't kill your heads of state and you won't kill ours. So instead, what we'll do is we'll send hundreds of thousands of men into battle, the treasure and the treasure of the nations, right? No, I don't mean monetary treasure. I mean the treasure of their youth. And we'll have them do a battle because we can't allow you and I to get into a battle where, it becomes a tit-for-tat thing for head of state against head of state. That's the whole thing in a nutshell. I mean, why doesn't anybody call that out? I mean, if you didn't like Saddam Hussein so bad, why didn't you just go pop him? Don't tell me you couldn't have gotten to him. Of course you could have. You got bullets that can fly from a mile away. I mean, you can't tell me that that's an impossible mission. I don't buy it. I'll tell you what I do buy. I'll tell you what I buy completely. And that is that our nation and most of the other Western nations have agreed in advance that we will never kill another head of state. And the reason for that is because they know that would lead to you got ours, we're going to get yours. And so people like John Kerry would be at risk when they flew around the world. Diplomats would no longer be given immunity. The president could never fly overseas again. Well, with all due respect, maybe he really doesn't have any business doing that. If he wants to meet the prime minister of country XYZ, let the prime minister of country XYZ come here. The truth is that we'll send thousands of young men to their deaths so that major corporations in the arms industry can generate trillions of dollars of spending. Old men will start the wars and the young men will fight them. Ad infinitum, ad nauseum. What I think we're going to see is a complete, total, and utter whitewash because they can never let the American population know that what Benghazi was really about was gun running. And I don't misunderstand me. They had no intention of allowing it to sidetrack the president's race for the throne again in his reelection. I mean, but that was really the side issue, folks. There's a bigger cover-up here. And it ain't whether or not President Barack Obama got reelected, because he already had the vote in the bag by fraud. Yeah, there I go. I said it too. I said that too. He did. He did. If you take the fraud numbers out of the 2012 election, Barack Obama did not win. There, I said that too. All right, we're gonna have to take a break. When we after this break, we're gonna come back and we're gonna talk about federal land grabs that Americans should be willing to meet with the same level of militia activity and citizen support that they met with on the Clive and Bundy scenario. There are a vast number of these massive areas out west that are being looked at for federal usurpation and theft, frankly. Alpine Lakes, Washington. Berryessa, I think that's how you pronounce it. Berryessa Snow Mountain in California. Boulder, White Clouds in Idaho. Desolation Canyon in eastern Utah. Dini Bakia, San Juan County, Utah. I don't even know where that. Gold Butte, Nevada. Gee whiz, isn't that where Clive and Bundy's from? Greater Canyonlands, southeastern Utah. Oregon Mountains, New Mexico. Rocky Mountain Front, Montana. San Gabriel's, California. San Rafael Swell, Emery County, Utah. Tule Springs, Nevada. Folks, what, 86% is not enough? Americans should be willing to fight this tooth and nail, with arms and physical resistance if necessary. All right, we're going to be back in just a moment. You're listening to America's Voice Now.